Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Coming to you live from our comfy couch here in the outskirts of the internet. This is Gaming Saloon Reviews for April 20th, 2024, with your host, Peacemaker20448 and Rampant Epsilon. Nah, it's not a magic number of any kind today. Here's what's funny. I don't know if the person was joking or not, but one of the people I follow is in the UK, and they are confused. It's like, why is this a day? I don't understand why people celebrate 24 Day. Because for those that don't know, in other countries, it is day, month, year, not month, day, year. Because, yeah. We just have to be different. So, folks, we finally get to cover the Gridman Universe trilogy, which is the S4 Gridman series, the S4 Dynazenon series, and then the Gridman Universe movie. I have explaining to do, but how we feeling? That's fair. Fair. I've come around to appreciating anime that are like sub 20 episodes because they don't fuck around and they just go, here's stuff. We just go for like, yeah. 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 It is. Oh, is it not picking up on stream? Oh.
And
Okay.
There it is. Okay.
Well, I heard everything you said.
Yeah. Short and long of it, I'm realizing why I don't like anime. That whole mass info dump that it kind of expects you to know. I'm not a fan of that. If I was left to my own, this would probably been I might have powered through the first episode and would have said, yep, that looks like it could be good, and walked away. Like,
I will definitely
no joke.
I would definitely say I think Dynazenon's the better of the two shows, and I think it might have a better first episode. Just because it at least has this sort of disconnect from Gridman stuff, which I will explain.
Here's the Here's the problem I'm gonna have though with this now. We're doing them back to back.
Yeah.
Meaning everything that I have been told and figured out through this one is already gonna be there for when I watch the next one. Meaning I'm gonna be able to draw enough parallels to be like, oh, okay, I get what you're meaning with this.
Yeah.
So it's gonna be hard for me to fairly judge both of them. Let's put it that way.
I forget the time gap, and I think I forgot to update the date in the notes. Yes, I did. 1 second. October 7th. But yeah, so we're gonna start with S4 Gridman, and I shorthand both shows to S4 whatever the title is, just for simplicity's sake. I know everyone else does S.S.S.S Gridman, but I prefer the shorthand it because it's easier to say. Knowing full well that those S's mean something different for both ships. I'm aware, but I prefer the shorthand. So, you've probably already noticed the Ultraman comparisons and the like.
Oh yeah.
Since this is under Super Aya.
and even more so when at least the dub, I don't know if the sub does it too, makes blatant references, and I'm like, okay, yeah. Okay, at least the show's self-aware of this.
Oh, it's me talking about the Ultra series?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, that's in the sub as well.
Okay.
Bear in mind, this is under Super Raya because... Okay, so this anime is technically I will say, spin-off for simplicity's sake. Because that is a whole can of worms we are not getting into until we're done with this show. Just... Over there, it is a spinoff for now. Do not try to correct me, internet. Just, we're going to leave it at that. But it is a spinoff of the, I think it's like 1990s. Date, please. Thank you. 1993 Tokusatsu series, Denko Chojin Gridman. Or Gridman the Hyper Agent, depending on how you want to translate that. That is a live-action Toku series that Tsuburaya did back in '93. That is not an Ultra series. It features a character, Gridman, coming into contact with 3 kids using a computer called Junk to make a antivirus hero thing, and one of them combines with Gridman to fight monsters in the internet. That's like the basic story of the original Gridman series.
So, the show.
Yes. Also, this series got brought over to America via Dick as Superhuman Samurai Cyber Squad. All of those start with an S. Now you see why this is called S4 Gridman. Because the title of this is referencing both the original series and the American adaptation, which the American adaptation is basically the same plot. And somehow has more episodes through creative use of the stock footage fights, or just of the fight scenes and stuff, to create stock footage to get more episodes out of the series, somehow.
So
the original series,
they questionably might have done a better play.
It is basically the same show as far as I know. Like in terms of the grand plot and all that stuff, it's the same show.
Well, the reason I say it that way is because I honestly, even as I was going through the remainder of the episodes, I felt like 2 through 4 flowed better for me. And I feel like the first episode really needed to be split into 2.
Yeah.
That probably would have made it better, probably would have made me be less critical going straight into it.
Mm-hmm.
But the way that we hit the ground running with knowing absolutely nothing about anyone involved, getting names, words, and everything thrown at you left, right, and center, and not having a clue as to what anything is going to mean.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we could have spent a little more time trying to explain.
Also, for reference, it is 39 episodes versus 53. You got an almost whole, like, 20 plus episodes extra in the American adaptation.
I guess I could see something like that working.
Again, they did not have the suits to make new fight scenes. They just reused fight scenes with other monsters and just cut them together to make new fights.
I could see that working.
Mm-hmm. Like, as far as I know, both the original and the adaptation are well looked upon, unless you're looking at the sub job that Mill Creek did recently for Gridman, which was a shit show. Like, not the worst shit show in the world, but it is, like, not good compared to a lot of their other Ultra releases. But yeah, both are well looked upon. Nothing else was done with Gridman except for one animated short that introduced Gridman's brother, because he has a brother. And then that was it until there was a try at another live action series that concepts of got turned into this animated series, which is done by Studio Trigger. Like, big animation studio, Studio Trigger. I am sure you don't recognize that name.
Nope.
I think the closest thing we've ever done is the one time we watched Gurren Lagann for TGSR. Because they're the ones that did Gurren Lagann. If you even remotely remember that, because that's been years.
I do not.
Fair enough. You will recognize the writer of this because it's Keiji Hasagawa, a longtime writer for Rider that we've watched several shows of. So yeah. Also, just as my personal pet peeve thing, Subaraya has a big Ultra crossover thing that they do, the Ultra Galaxy fights that have all these different Ultras from all across the franchise, and even obscure stuff, including the one Hanna-Barbera animated pilot that we have 3 physical suits for the 3 main characters. They'll all be in there, but Gridman? No. Even though there's a physical suit of the Gridman suit. Both his original from his original series and the one that shows up in this show. The proper one, not the one from episode 1. I do not understand that. How? Why is Gridman not crossing over with an Ultra series at this point, when everything else they've done has? But yeah, that's the context. I don't think it's necessarily needed to know any of this to go into this show, because it doesn't really deal with any of that. I think. Kind of. But that's kind of like where this animated series came from, where it is a spinoff to this old 90s Toku series. It's kind of like Futo PI, but this became more successful than Futo PI. But I guess, any other thoughts before we get into the episodes proper?
No.
I would assume that's a no.
I said no.
Okay, it only gave me half of it, so. All right. We will kick things off with episode 1, Awakening. So we open with Akane at the top of the school, kind of looking out, and she sees one like light in the sky split apart into 6 before we hard cut to black to pick up with Yuta waking up in Rika's house. Just gonna let you know, remember the star formation and how many lights there are. That's plot relevant. Anyway, we find out that Yuta collapsed outside her house and he has amnesia, so he has no idea who he is or what happened. He ends up getting taken to the hospital by Rika, begrudgingly so, because her mom was just like, take him to the hospital. On the way, or before this, Yuta does go down to this old CRT screens, like, I feel like this is a fire hazard kind of computer that is called junk. By the way, this does look like the original junk that was in the Toku series. Something about all the exposed parts on it makes me just uneasy. Like, it feels like this thing's going to catch on fire if you look at it the wrong way.
I mean, it's junk.
I don't think they call it that because it's literally junk. But yeah, he sees Gridman on there telling him, hey, remember who you are and stuff. And Yuta has no idea what he's talking about. Also, Rika drops by. He does not see Gridman, does not hear Gridman, so there's that. As he's taking Yuta to the hospital, he spots a massive kaiju monster just standing in the city menacingly, and Rika doesn't see it at all. And by the way, no normal people see these big giant kaiju that are just standing around in the city, because there's multiple of them that are just standing around. But she takes him to the hospital. He gets out. Apparently, he's like physically fine, and it'll clear up eventually, according to the doctors. Spoilers, it's not going to clear up until like the end of the show. Just throwing it out there. But then Rika decides to walk him home because he has no idea where his home is, so she might as well go the whole way. She also tells him that like Utsumi, a friend of his, will like pick him up in the morning to get him to school, since he doesn't know the way to school either. At this point, we find out that the two of them barely talk to each other. This is like the most they've ever interacted ever. So that gives an idea of their relationship pre-series. Also, we find out from Yuta that he lives alone because his parents are overseas.
Pretty sure
Correct?
that's what it was said.
Okay. But next day, Izumi picks up Yuta. He's kind of like, are you really? Do you really not remember anything and stuff? Finds out about Gridman and wants to meet this Gridman. At school, Akane runs into Yuta, offers him lunch, but it gets kind of knocked out of her hands by one of the volleyball members that is in school playing with a ball. We cut later, we see that Akane is making a kaiju with the help of our villain of the series, Alexis Kerb, and I'm just going to name him now because the show's not going to name him for like 6 episodes. I'm pretty sure. I'm pretty sure he is nameless the entire 4 episodes. Unless you caught his name at some point.
I don't think I did.
Okay. I'll just name him now for simplicity. But after school, Izumi goes with Yuta to Rika's to see Junk. He also doesn't see Gridman and doesn't hear Gridman on Junk. But that's as Gridman's telling Yuta, hey, something bad's about to happen. And we see it's that kaiju that Akane made. And it starts destroying parts of the city and stuff. And also blows up part of the school where the volleyball members are. We don't see them like directly die, but they're dead. They went kaboom. That's when Yuta gets pulled into junk, combines with Gridman. They become a proto version of Gridman because of the colors and stuff. To fight the monster, blow it up, save the day. Itsubi and Rika also help out trying to figure out what to do, since Yuta has no idea what he's doing, and the Gridman can only help so much, apparently. But by the end of it, Rick is exhausted, and the next day they head to school, and everything's fine. Nothing's destroyed, and they're the only ones that seem to notice that. So that takes us to episode 2, Restoration. Trio talk to some of their schoolmates and stuff, and find out that nobody knows what the hell they're talking about when they talk about a monster attacking the city. Nothing happened. And worst of all, no one knows what a volleyball team is in terms of this school, because there is no volleyball team for this school. There are no people who play volleyball in the school. There is no Warren Bossing say. Just throw that in there since we're playing Fortnite before this. At lunch, Akane tries to like prod Yuta for info about Gridman stuff, but it goes nowhere. After this, a teacher runs into Akane and then just doesn't apologize and just walks off, and that annoys her. So she makes another kaiju to kill the teacher. But as this is going on, Samurai Caliber, or just Caliber, shows up at the shop where the trio are talking and introduces himself, and also forgets how long his swords and scabbards are and keeps running into the doorway. I appreciate how much of a goof he is. But he works on Jump, upgrades it, so now Gridman can talk to the trio. And also he's in his proper colors and stuff they will be for the rest of the series. They eventually decide to investigate the volleyball team, and they go around asking about them, and find out that all of them died years ago. Which, that's not good. Rick is, like, especially hit by this, as they see another kaiju attack, and we see it's attacking the teacher, specifically. Caliber gets the trio back to junk. Yuta teams up with Gridman. They try a beam. It doesn't work. Caliber hops in, turns into a sword, and they quickly slice up the monster. And that is it. So how do you feel 2 episodes in?
I mean, I feel like the second episode at least attempted to, do something.
Mm-hmm.
The first one just felt like it was info dump.
Yeah.
I don't know. So, even all the way through the first 4, I'm just kind of at the meh with the show at the moment.
Yeah.
One of those, it's not bad, but I don't also think it's good enough to have my interest fully.
Mm-hmm. It's fine, but I'm also seeing like the weak parts of it, because it's like, well, Yuta's pretty much a non-character because he's amnesiac and kind of is just going with the flow. It's to me is standard genre savvy character, and Rika is very much annoyed to be here and is very tired.
Uh-huh.
Which, because of all that, I feel the most aligned with her, of just being like, oh, good Lord, help. I am so tired of all of this. Can I not be involved, please? All right. Anything else before we hit the second half?
No. No.
All right. Starting with episode 3, Defeat. Rain has set in about a week after the last episode to put it on the nose because this was a weekly release show. The show plays with the genre a bit. Akane has her newest kaiju ready, which takes the form of this little shit kid that only cares about one thing and one thing only, and that is killing Gridman. Rika ends up running to this kid on the way to school and like offers him lunch. He declines. He almost takes it, but then Akane calls him in the middle of school to attack, and he kind of runs off and does. Thankfully, Caliper's at school, and apparently people just ignore him. I guess people can't see him either.
That would be my headcanon.
Somehow I think it's funnier if people just looked at this slouched, like, well-dressed man with, like, 4 swords and strapped to his back and just like, I don't know who this guy is. He ain't my problem. I'm just gonna ignore him. But Caliber picks up the trio, drops him off at Junk. Yuta combines with Gridman. They fight this kaiju for a bit, which, by the way, this is Anti. Just name him now. He can mimic Gridman, which is why I think he also picks up Gridman's color timer weakness. Because I don't think he's built in with that. Because I think he only like has the light start blinking when Gridman starts blinking.
I guess that kind of makes sense that that's a mimicked thing kind of deal.
Yeah. Because he mimics other stuff Gridman can do both here and in the future episodes. So I'm like, that's the thing I noticed now this time around. I'm like, oh, he picks that up because he's a mimic. So not only can he pick up Gridman's strengths, he can pick up mimic Gridman's weaknesses unconsciously because that's just how he functions. But anyway, Caliber hops in to help. Unfortunately, because of an earlier conversation with Utsumi, Yuta, hearing this kaiju talk, thinks it's a person transformed into the kaiju and doesn't really fight back. And so him and Caliber get defeated and disappear. They don't come back through Junk, and apparently they're not in town. I guess they're just in between somewhere. I don't exactly know where.
They are in the void.
Apparently.
That or in the pocket dimension that all belts and devices are in.
That too. But yeah, this shakes up Utsumi and Rika. Rika's especially hit by this because she kind of like stays in the one chair next to Junk like the entire night. Utsumi like is back behind her, like curled up on a cardboard box, apparently all night waiting on you to come back. They end up butting heads for like the rest of the episode. We also see that Akane treats Anti for defeating Gridman, and this is where we get an explanation for what Anti is of. He's just a kaiju she made, and that's about the short and long of it. He's a kaiju and he's a mimic. That's it. But as Rick and Utsumi are kind of like butting heads and stuff, the rest of Gridman's crew show up, which they're the Neon Genesis Junior High School students, I think is their full title. I'm just calling them Gridman's crew because that's just what they are. But we've got Max, who's the big guy with the mouthpiece that still lets him eat food as we'll see in a later scene. Which, it didn't dawn on me when I originally watched the show, but now it does. I'm just like, wait, how the fuck do you eat food? Because you were sitting there with a piece of, like, jellied toast that you have taken a bite out of. How did you take a bite out of that? The mask doesn't open. Anyway, Vic is like the blue-haired guy, and then Boar is the small child who here's a fun part. What gender do they prescribe to Boar in the dub? Out of curiosity.
I don't remember.
Okay, because here's a weird little dumb inconsistency between the sub and the dub. I believe in the dub, Boar is gendered female. Except in the sub, Boar is gendered male. So I believe the community at large have just prescribed Boar as being trans because of this little oops of translation.
I guess that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, Boar being probably the most sensible person out of the four of them, which is hilarious because they are the small child of this group. Are just like, why have you not called Yuta? And somehow they're all like, we could call him? And Rika calls him, and Yuta immediately picks up in the void, because the void has great cell reception. And pretty much explains, yeah, we're hiding out in the void until the monster shows back up so we can surprise him, because that was Caliper's idea, and we're staying here. Also, we didn't call because we didn't think we had reception either. But they hop out of the void. Auntie goes to fight them. This time around, Caliber swaps out with Max. And so we get Max Gridman, which is just this big set of Hulk arms that Gridman can equip. And that lets him take out Auntie. He's still alive, but they just de-transform him back to his human form. Akane is upset about this and like chucks a lunch at him. Which takes us to episode 4, Suspicion. Akane is frustrated by all this, but thinks Yuta's got some connection to Gridman, but doesn't know what that connection is or have really any real evidence of it. So she tries to get information out of Rika on the bus the next day, and that doesn't go anywhere. But because two of Rika's friends want to hang out with these like 4 YouTubers that are college kids, Akane and Rika go with them, and Akane tries to again get something out of Rika, and it goes nowhere because the boys keep interrupting her. While this is all happening, Yuta, kind of like about the whole situation for no good reason, decides to follow them all day. Utsumi decides to tag along as well because he's a good friend. And the Gridman's crew tag along just because they have no particular reason for doing this. I love how much Gridman's crew are just entirely casual about this situation and also just no-sell everything they do. Like, the 2 of them are out, like, checking to see what their friend's doing with these 4 college kids. And the 4 of them are like, cool, whatever. We're gonna get bread and, like, lunch while you're all doing this shit. Whatever you gotta do, you gotta do. But more or less, the whole thing kind of just goes nowhere if there's nothing for them to be worried about. And Rico was like, it was fine to hang out with them, but eh. Unfortunately, because Akane got annoyed by the 4 college kids, she makes a monster that stealthily kills 3 of them, and Gridman didn't detect it, like, that night. And so there's only, like, 1 left that Rika doesn't find out about until her 2 friends show her another video from them, and it's only the 1 guy now. So she ends up contacting the one guy and meeting up with him, only for the monster to attack him at the same time. So Caliber has to go defend Rika and this guy. Gridman deploys with, well, not with anyone in tow yet. But when Caliber gets back with Rika, Usby's like, why don't all four of you go help him? And all four of them were like, that's a good idea. And so all four of them hop in the computer and go to help. Only for all of them to freeze because, oops, too much RAM. Or not enough RAM. We can't do this. Luckily, Auntie shows up and attacks the monster because he's pissed that someone else is trying to kill Gridman. Gridman's mine, sir. I do also like the Rika's solution to unfreeze them all is, how about we just unplug the computer and replug it back in? That'll be fine, right? That won't kill them. Thankfully, they all get shot back out, and then it's okay, who of you is better suited for this situation right now? And it's Max, because everyone gets 2 episodes to show off their cool, like, weapon form, I guess. So Max plus Gridman take out the monster, and Auntie tries to fight, but he times out. Not Rika. Akane, annoyed by this entire situation, pegs Auntie with her phone again for like the second time in the episode they end off. And that is our second half. How do you feel through the second half?
Honestly, still about the same. I'm just... I think... What's bad is with me, most shows have that first impression kind of deal.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's gonna be hard for me to fight that.
Fair.
But yeah, I mean, it's not bad.
Mm-hmm. I'm willing to vibe with most shows as long as it doesn't annoy me too much, so... I think that's how I made it through all 12 episodes. I think it also helps that... I'm trying to remember if it already premiered a few episodes by the time I started watching, or it just started when I was watching it. So I kind of just like vibed with it and just went with it, because I was like, oh, Toku-based anime. Sure. I'll watch it. I don't mind. But yeah, I can definitely see where the show's not like the most attention grabbing. It is a very like chill series, in all honesty. Like our action scenes aren't even that long, because like half of our fight scenes are like a finisher essentially, and they're done. Because I think like 2 is basically Caliper shows up and they slice the monster in half, and then 4 is Gridman and Max do a rider kick, and that's about the extent of the fight. It's only like 1 in 3 where we get an extended fight at all. So if you're here for fight scenes, there's not a whole lot there. It's a very like mood show, or mood-based show, I guess. This is what I'm trying to get at. If you vibe with the mood, you're in for the long haul. If you don't vibe with the mood, you're probably going to bounce off because there's not a whole lot else here. If that makes sense at all.
Yeah, that's kind of... You're probably right on the dot with it.
But we will continue this because it's 12 episodes, folks. It's not... It's one thing I kind of appreciate about both Gridman and Dynazon, just like, it is 12 episodes each. That's like half a writer show. If you are willing to power through this, you will be done with this in like a weekend. But yeah, in 2 weeks, we'll be back with more Gridman. But between now and then, tomorrow we finish up the Archipelago. Maybe. Depends on if it cooperates. because I believe am I still PK'd?
No, I think you got something in Smash.
I probably have a character in Smash. Probably, yeah. I'm just stuck in Snap as per usual. But that is tomorrow. Next Thursday will be Wonderful 101. Next Friday, we decided.
I have not.
Fair enough. And next Saturday will be TGS, where we get to talk about game news stuff. Maybe if anything of importance happened. I might sit down and watch the Fallout show, so we have something to talk about. At least guaranteed. But if you like what you're seeing, folks, drop a follow. We appreciate chipping away that Philly go at Jesus on Twitter and at Jesus Network on Mastodon.social. We have information we're going. Next mission point, Discord and chat. This is going. Bye bye. Say hi. See you tomorrow, folks.